Department of Computer Science and Engineering welcomes you all once again. Let me know these are the agenda about our department. So already all of you know that our chairman, R.S. Meerathan, founder, chairman of our group of institution, is a dynamic personality, a great visionary and a philanthropist. A former member of Tamil Nadu, already the principals are told about detail about this, even the brief about this. So former member of Tamil Nadu Assembly, elected 3 terms continuously. So instrumental setting in a Ministry Estate Sipcot and the Institute of Road Transport to Gumdipundi. The president of Consortium of Self-Financing Professional Arts and Science College in Tamil Nadu, and the chief patron of All India Federation of Self-Financing Technical Institutions. He received Vidya Ratna Award for this outstanding achievement in the field of education for the rural community. These are all management team members. So these are the college principal told clear about 8 group of institutions in our group. It's a college profile. So RMD Engineering College was established in year 2001 by Swami Narayan Education Centers, by ASD, related to University. So we are having all the accreditation Act, NBA. So autonomous status granted for the period of 10 years from the session 2020, 22, 21 to 2030 by the UGC and University. So these are the program details of it. These are the all courses are available in our college. So BE Computer Science Engineering 180 intake. So electrical and electronics 180. Electrical and electrical engineering is 60. So BTech Information Technology 60. BTech Computer Science and Business System 60. BTech Artificial Intelligence Machine Learning 60. And also we are having PG program. The PhD also in our college, Computer Science and Maths. These are the awards for our college. Already principal told clear about that. So this excellent academic performance of the past 10 years ranked among one top 10 engineering college in Tamil Nadu by the University. This is published. We produced 12 gold medals as of now, 581 university ranks, 7,621 graduates from the inception, with an average more than 95% graduation. The excellent placement record of more than 85% continuously for the past 10 years. The average of 132 companies visited every year. So for last year, 21 batch passed out. The placement percentage in our college is 87%. So highest salary is 10 lakhs per annum. The average for all the students is 4.10 lakhs per annum for average salary. This is about our department detail. So UG Computer Science Engineering was started in 2001 with the 60 intake. So as of now, 16 batches are graduated. We are also having ME Computer Science. It was started in 2010 with 18 intake. So as of now, 9 batches are graduated. So PhD, we are having started this PhD program in 2011. So as of now, 70 PhD awards are completed from this recognized PhD center. So current intake is 180 our UG student, BE Computer Science, PG is 180. So these are the highlights of our department. So All India winner of CENT Award for the best industry linked to computer and IT engineering and allied institute established by ASD, CA Award for the year 2020. So Computer Institute of India, our continuously past 4 years, we are getting award for this best student branch award, continuous longest student branch of coordinator award, highest committed student branch. These are the awards. Highest award, totally 118 UG and PG ranks with one gold medal from the institutes from the department. Good academic performance above 85%. Consistent students placement for the department is 95% above. The number of papers published in this current year 2021 with the Scopus and the Web of Science 69 publications. The number of patents published 25 for this current year. So as of now, 70 PhD students are completed from our research center. These are various amount granted from the various financial organizations for the research and FDP short-term programs. These are the students achieved various awards and laurels from the various industries and organizations. This is the current intake of our students, 650 from the first year to final year. This is the placement record. Continuously, we are doing excellent placement. So current batch, so now 17 to last 6 to 7 years batch are placement record I mentioned here. So the 22 batch, so as of now, is the previous record, as of now, 86% placed out of 94, 80 students placed as of now. So these are the companies, 122 companies visited every year. These are the top company mentioned here. Amazon, 3 different packages. Zoho also 2 different packages. Zilker, 6.6 lakhs. Like all the top companies are visiting our campus every year. These are the training programs offered for the student from the first year to final year. There are 78 days alone. We are giving special training for the placement point of view. So that's why our students are able to get highly placement record compared to all self-finance colleges in Tamil Nadu. These are the next, especially the RMK Next Gen app, previously called Advisory app. So this is the only specially designed for RMK group of institutions. It is AI powered MCQ based online LMS platform available exclusively for the student RMK group of institution. It helps the student to understand the topics in depth with AI powered algorithms. Students can design their learning path and future career with the help of this portal. Assessment can be scheduled for the different subjects based on the Bloom's taxonomy. So RMK Next Gen app plays an important role in enriching student knowledge and their clear competitive examinations. So this app, as well as based applications, is very much helpful for our students to enrich the knowledge. So getting the placement point of view also. We are also having our department having 4 center of excellences. This center of excellence also enriching the student knowledge, especially skilled. It provides opportunity for the business units hiring, bridges a gap between academia and industry, and also through this center of excellence, we are initiating for the domain-specific training on the latest technologies as per the company required. We are also arranging guest lectures, webinars by associate company, project expo with the industry mentoring also we are doing through this center of excellence. Many projects also we are completed through this center of excellence. So latest technology many projects also are done. So we are also arranging mock entry through the center of excellence for the alumni as well as the industry experts. These are the important of the mini project. The important mini project also every semester. So we are completing one mini project for from the first year to final year. So all the mini projects are completed. Every project will be makes us a confident for the technical as well as a skilled in their domain specific. So that is very much helpful for the students placement point of view in career way. These are the corporate contests. Already many corporate contests are, these are listed some. So TCS 3 corporate contests are they're conducting. We are encouraging our students to participate, all the students in the corporate contests. Through the corporate contests also, the students are able to place in the high salary packages. These are the skill rack. Another important portal is a skill rack portal. Through the skill rack portal, so the students can able to learn the programming skills, such as to learn the programming C, C++, Java, and Python, to practice the program using programming tracks, to conduct code MCQ tests daily and weekly. The skill rack also conducts webinar programs for the training to our students. Skill rack performance is important for the shortlisting for the student for the placement point of view. Regular practice in the skill rack make the student confident to face the interview. It provides opportunity for the placement, higher package salaries. These are the AMCAT is a aspiring minds of continuous assessment test. Also is also the pre-test for the placement point of view. There are 10 modules in this AMCAT test. We are also conducting 5 test AMCAT tests for our students. Through that is also giving the way their confidence build will be done through this AMCAT test. So minimum 65 sectional cutoff for the mandatory for all the placement research students. So that's why our students are able to place in the maximum percentage. So these are the listed, some students are placed in the AMCAT through the AMCAT and the skill rack. How the skill rack performance are done our students. So along with this COE and AMCAT and RMK Gen, so we are also considered for the recognition for high performance. So we are also in the group of in RMK group 3 in educational engineering colleges are there. So all the 3 colleges we have selected 50 students from this all the 3 group of colleges. We have trained them, so that students are able to maximum place in 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs through their skills development. So through the RHP also we are giving enriching their knowledge and improve their skills. This is also very much helpful for our students' career. So these are also we are allowing for higher education cell. Through the higher education cells, our students are going for abroad universities to get their higher degrees. So these are listed some, our students are studying all over the world. The student document, how many online courses, how many corporate contests have participated, that is mini project completed, how many hackathons participated, like number of papers published for students, these are listed here. One student is published 178 online courses during the last academic year. These are the purposes for this. So with this, I conclude about our CS department. So once again, welcome all the participants, all the faculty members. So to listen this 6 days FDP. So I hope this will be enrich your knowledge in the particular domain. Thank you. Thank you all. Please, madam.
Guest is there, ma'am. Sir, guest is there.
Thank you, sir, for the valuable information provided to us. Now, I would like to request Dr. M.A. Berlin, ma'am, Professor, CSE Department, to introduce about our guest speaker, Dr. S. Nicholas, sir, Professor, NIT Trichy. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. A pleasant morning to one and all present here. On behalf of our management and the Computer Science and Engineering Department, I welcome you all for this AICTE IST sponsored induction refresher program. It's my pleasure to welcome our today's guest speaker, Dr. S. Nicholas, Associate Professor, NIT Trichy. I take this opportunity to introduce our today's guest speaker, Dr. S. Nicholas. Dr. S. Nicholas is working as Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Applications with 28 years of experience in National Institute of Technology, Trichy. He completed his ME Computer Science from NIT Trichy in the year 1992 and PhD in the year 2007 from NITT. His area of research interest includes data mining, big data analytics, distributed computing, cloud computing, and software metrics. He is the principal investigator of the FUDA NVIDIA Teaching Center of the Institute for the year 2013 to 16, sponsored by NVIDIA Corporation. He is coordinating a GPU computing team to establish a high-end computing center in the institute. He is the chairman for the institute MIS implementation team. He has published more than 56 papers in the international conferences and journals and presented papers in Singapore and Indonesia. He was the co-developer for the pedagogical course development for the course operating systems sponsored by MHRD under National Mission Project. He has life membership in ISTE, CSI, IACSIT, Learned Societies. He has carried out UKIERI project on preparing graduates for business life, which is collaborated with other universities in London. It's our pleasure to have such an eminent speaker in the midst of us. Once again, I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Now I request Dr. S. Nicholas, sir, to take over this session. Please, sir.
Shall I share my screen? Okay.
Yes, please, sir.
Sir, yes, sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay, thanks. So, good morning to all. It's my pleasure to be part of this program on big data and AR and VR analysis. Okay, so my agenda of today's session is to give an overview about the virtual and augmented reality and how it is the need of the hour in terms of big data analytics. That is the focus I am making on this session. So my agenda is going to be a brief discussion on big data and big data analytics, and also what are the computer augmented interaction that are being in progress, and coming to my topic on augmented reality, what it means, and virtual reality, and how these two emerging technologies can be useful for our big data visualization and how we can do the research on this domain also. That is my research focus. Okay, so let me start with the first one. That is just to give an overview about the need for visualization. This picture just illustrate a book on Papillon, which is of around 688 pages, and it is an interesting story about the escape from the prison on lifetime basis, and the duration that we need to read this book, or the time it requires to read the book. We know around 700 pages we have to read, but the same book is picturized or taken in a motion picture, and the running time of the movie is 2 hours. So the essence of the movie is being illustrated by essence of the book is illustrated by this movie within 2 hours. So that is the thing. That is when the normal term we use is a picture is worth 1,000 words. So instead of explaining more and more, if you tell the same matter with the image or picture, we can convey whatever thing we want. That is the meaning, or that is the goal that we want to achieve through the visualization part. Okay, so this is the picture, shows the diagrammatic representation of Napoleon's invasion over Russia, where the army over time and geography is getting diluted and reduced and returned back to their country in a very thin manner. So this picture, where it gives, drawn in 1869, gives the overview of the invasion of Napoleon. So now, given having such ideas, so always visualization helps us to understand or gain more insight into the problem and understand the knowledge about the thing we want to know or elaborate. Okay, so before going about the actual essence of AR and VR, we will discuss something on data, which is nowadays termed as big data. So data, which is from the beginning of our what I can say, business or anything, we want to store the information or store the operations that we are performing daily or day-to-day activities of our business, whatever be. So this data now is currently calling it, we are going to call them as big data. What makes the difference between data and big data? So there are some V's we usually define to discuss the characteristics of big data. That is the volume. When the size of the data grows bigger than bigger, where moving from bits, bytes to kilobytes to nowadays petabytes, exabytes, zettabytes, the volume is going to be defined the term big data. And also the speed with which we are going to generate them, transmit them and store them, that is the velocity, that also define the characteristics of the big data. And also the structure. So when you talk about the text files or a database files, they are more or less somewhat structured or semi-structured. But nowadays our data files are in polystructured manner, consisting of both text, audio, video, and images. Everything is put together. So there are variety of information that are being called as data nowadays. And also the trustworthiness in this communication era. Whatever we are receiving through our social media or social network, whether they are correct or accurate, trustworthiness, that speaks about the another piece of big data, that is veracity, and also the relationship that are being existing between the data items, that is going to be discussed. So these are the 5 characteristics that can define the term big data, which differentiate between the data. But these are not the V's. We can go and add more number of V's. But normally 3 V's will be used to represent for big data: volume, velocity, and variety. Other V's we can have. So these data are being generated again and again in our. So the growth of data, if you see from 2010 to 2025, it is growing in terms of zettabytes. Now it is projected as in 2025, maybe around 175 zettabytes of data being generated. So with this much of data we are generating from many walks of our life, whether you are really using our data in proper manner, that is the question mark we have to ask. So the generators of data, for example, social media or networks, through our usage we are generating, or when you do our laboratory experiments or scientific analysis, we are generating data, or when we are using our mobile devices, browsing the net, accessing various tools or apps, we are generating data. And also the various sensors or video cameras that are available in all walks of our life are generating data. So there is no dearth of generation of data. All are generating data. Even our transaction that we are making, either online or direct purchase, lot of transaction data we are generating. So the data generation is huge, but the data usage is very, very minimal. If you can see, even if you use 10 to 15% of data out of our data generation, it is we are very high usage that we can claim. So in this scenario, this, as I said earlier, the data that we are generating are of various types, structured or unstructured, or even like in the natural language way, or the data may be machine generated or sensor generated, or it may be a graphical data or audio video. So there are different types of data that are being generated by all these people or devices or media. Okay. So what do you mean by this big data analytics? So whether we can explore this big data, so we can, whether we can find, visualize and understand all this big data, basically to improve our decision making. That is the need. So I am generating this much of data, whether I can use this data for some decision making. For example, if there is a car company, but they are generating a lot of data about the customers who have ordered for the purchase, who have inquired for the purchase, or what type of products the competitors are developing. So much of data they are collecting, and based on this information, whether it is possible for them to project what will be the requirement in the coming weeks or in the coming month, whether it is possible, so that they can make proper decision of how much cost they can generate. So this is the need of the hour. So data generation is not a problem, but usage of data is the biggest problem. So by generating this much of data, if I can get some useful information, whether I can manage the data and extract value from this data, which will help me to unify the information across different sources, or whether I can relate the raw data from the system with customer and the line of business, or whether there is a risk of exposing my security of the organization. All these things can be considered as the need. There is a need, consider as there is a need for exploration of the data. So the goal of this big data analytics is to find and visualize and understand all the big data decision making process. So this data analytics can be called in three different ways, or differentiated in three different ways. One is so I can categorize the big data analytics in three different ways, as descriptive analytics or predictive analytics or prescriptive analytics. So what do you mean by descriptive analytics? If I can interpret the historical data to better, excuse me, I am hearing a lot of noise. Excuse me.
ஆனா அவர் இன்னும் பண்ணல. மியூட் பண்ணுங்க மேம்.
So kindly mute your mic. It is making disturbance. Okay. Okay. So when you the three types of analytics, namely descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive, helps us to make proper decision in our day-to-day activity. What do you mean by descriptive analytics? Descriptive analytics is nothing but interpreting the past historical data that we have collected in our databases or day-to-day operations to understand the changes that has happened already. So by this, we are able to study where we are. So the important question that we are going to answer by this descriptive analytics is that my organization is moving in right direction, or there is some change is required because of the growth whatever growth I have expected, the organization has not shown in the past days. So this is the meaning of discrete analysis. So this I can collect and study based on the data that is stored in our databases, operational databases. Whereas when you talk about predictive analytics, it is not only what we have already have, but whether we can use the past data to predict future. So as I said earlier, how much of production we can make in the coming days. This type of analytics can be performed using the predictive analytics. So this we are able to predict based on the past things. So my requirements or customer needs are so much in the past year, past month. So based on this, I can plan for the next year or next month. This is called as predictive analytics. So what has happened already, as it is, if I can study, that is going to be called as discrete analytics. Whereas if based on this study, whether I can project something or predict something, that is called as predictive analytics. And if my not only predicting, but I can also correct something so that I can do or I can achieve something. Goal setting can be meet out or reached by means of discrete analytics. I can do this up. So there are three ways in which I can use my data or big data that are being available with me. So based on the past data, you understand the behavior of the company or the organization. Using predictive analytics, you can do what we can achieve, what should be done in the, or what we can expect in the coming days. And in the discrete analytics, what remedial we can do to reach this goal. These are the three ways of big data analytics. But there are a lot of hindrance to this big data analytics because of the. So again, I am hearing more noises which is making. Okay.
Suganya ma'am, please mute your audio ma'am.
So the main hindrance in big data analytics is, so we are having data, we can do many wonders with this data by doing proper analysis, but we could not achieve, as I said earlier, only 10 to 15% of data only we are using for properly. So in this scenario, what is the reason behind this? Why it is not able to achieve the proper analysis or usage of the data? So the ability to perceive the big data as facts is problem. So you are having huge data. From this data, exploring this data and identifying the facts or knowledge is one of the basic problem, because the human restriction is there. We cannot visualize everything, or we can, if you do some analysis, the results may be in the form of numbers or facts, but this will not give us proper understanding of the situation. So we need the visualization technique so that the presentation of the results will help me to understand the problem more easily or understand the results more easily. For example, instead of giving the numbers, if I do some charts, if I give some charts as the result, the decision maker can easily understand whether my company is progressing in the right direction or improving proper direction. So this is the main thing, main drawback of big data analytics. We are having huge data, and the fact we are getting our analysis as the result of our analysis is not able to be represented properly. So we need proper visualization techniques. So pie charts and bar graphs are used to visualize the data into readable form, but could not handle proper. This is the drawback of pie charts. So their capability to handle the data, the size of the data that they can handle is very, very minimal. And also in this big data era, when the data is being generated at a faster rate, and a lot of streaming of data is being coming. In this scenario, it is very difficult for this type of visualization tools to present the result. And a 2D representation of big data analysis restricts the imagination conclusion from the data. So if I give even if I give a result in the form of graph, if it is a univariate variable, it is easily understandable. But if the variables that you have to represent in your diagram is a multivariate data which consists of many attributes to be represented, then it is very, very difficult for 2D representation to give the result, a real fact. So with big data gaining momentum exponentially, it is important to get hold on insights obtained from it. So we need more. That is, since 2D is not enough, pie charts are not enough. We need specific tools or special tools to see the visualize the data in the form of 3D will help us. The user will be able to decipher the major takeaways from the data better and faster with history. So the 2D is solving some problems, but when the big data era, it is very difficult to understand or visualize the data that we are working on using these tools that we are having. So big data analytics and visualization, when we talk about visualization, data visualization, it is nothing but the display of information in a graphical or pictorial format. Either you can go for charts or plots or graphs or trees. So which will help us to analyze information in a better way. That is the meaning of data visualization. And so visualization aims to improve the clarity and aesthetic appeal of the display information. So by this visualization, we can easily understand the large amount of data and interact with it. But visualization helps in finding patterns, extract assumptions, and generate. These are all the goals of any big data analytics. We want to find the patterns, find the knowledge for our decision making. And so we want to generate domain specific predictions. What should be the number of cars we have to manufacture, or what type of product we have to buy so that our business, the requirements of the customers can be met out in the coming days. So these are all some of the predictions, domain specific predictions. It may be an automobile domain or what I can say, the consumer, marketing domain. So domain specific predictions are always needed. And for doing this, we have to find the patterns or knowledge, which will be easily understandable by the use of visualization techniques. So big data analysis and visualization are closely associated, and visualizing this large data set is harder when compared to the traditional data sets. Because the traditional data sets may be in the form of two-dimensional tables, or it may be more structured way. But in the era of big data, the data is, as we saw earlier, it is in the multimodal type. So visualizing this type of data is going to be very, very difficult one. So data visualization has the ability to take complex abstract symbols and transform them into simpler visual. So this is the goal or aim of visualization. I want to get various abstract symbols and transform them into visual concepts. So data analytics plays a vital role in breaking down the complexity and size of the big data and making it feasible for visualization. So by means of analytics, we are finding the essence of the data, and using the visualization techniques, we are presenting the data in an easy way to the top level people or the decision-making authorities. So the need for visualization, as I am repeatedly saying, in this era, IoT and the analytics tools are coming in a large scale, and data fit nicely on a spreadsheet and could with a little image be exported visually in the chart or graph. So, but in the age of big data, it is not the job of reading the data falls to the data scientist. So normally companies will appoint data scientists who apply some models to extract useful insights from the data. But not all companies are not having this. So what they are doing is they are going for the third-party software as service products to churn through the data to understand the meaning from this data. So one of these software as augmented reality and virtual reality actually change the way we interact with the developers. So that is the reason why we are moving towards AR and VR. So the data being generated should be analyzed or interpreted properly. For this, these AR and VR are providing or helping us to do such activity. And 3D visualization in mixed reality are the right tool at the right time to tell decision makers to understand and glean insight from the huge data sets. So that is the thing. So in this era, the normal tools would not be satisfied for our what I can capturing the data and presenting the data properly to the authorities. So the tools like the emerging technologies like AR and VR, which are able to present the result in 3D visualization, help us to understand the data and gain insight into the data properly. Okay. So when you talk about the evolution of these visualization techniques, initially we know if you compare this parallelly with the gaming that we have played, usually we'll be having some 2D games where very minimal graphical representation is there. Normally we'll be using the graphical representation for economical data. What is the growth of this, what is the profit or loss, those things, economical data alone we will be representing using the graphs. But we have, after thing, we got this tabular representation or line graph representation of the data. Then the rebirth of 2D and 3D diagrams in 19th century. And also now it is moving towards the AR and visualization, VR visualization. That is the evolution of these visualization techniques. And the market that visualization tools are nowadays gaining is, it is projected as 215 billion US dollars in the year 2020. So there is enormous potential for this VR and AR tools in the big data era. So proper analysis of the data is a must, and also proper tools for this analysis is the need of the hour. So what do you mean by this computer augmented interaction? So coming to the reality, we want to show our data properly. We want to represent our data to the decision makers properly. So for this, we need proper tools. So and to understand different ways in which we are able to represent our data, we will discuss something on computer assisted interaction with the humans. So human computer interaction, that is the basic thing. So if you see, rapid development technology has brought people closer to what digital devices can offer in our imagination. So because of the technology, it is possible for us to see the digital version of the reality. The real environment can be digitally created and see. So a lot of movies we have come across nowadays, like Avatar or Bahubali, so many things, digital versions of the real environment we are able to create. So these digital versions make us to fully immerse into this environment and understand the situation. So this is basically possible through the innovations, that is VR and AR. So both are doing something in terms of creating new reality. So they are. So both are able to create an environment which is not real, but it is existing for our observation or browsing or analysis, etc. So reality indicate that although both inventions have something to do with creating new reality, but the method of creating the environment or reality is different. That is the basic difference between the two. So VR and AR are creating some reality. The reality is the one which is existing in the real naturally, but we are simulating or creating a new environment using this VR and AR techniques. So computer, as I said, human computer interaction will be happening in 4 different ways. That is, initially the computer will be there and the real environment will be there, and using the computer graphic guys, we are able to interact through the computer, and we will be having a separation between, or a gap between, the computer environment and the real environment. There is a separation, clear-cut separation when you talk about graphical user interfaces. Whereas when you talk about ubiquitous computing, the real environment is there, and we're using various computing devices or sensors, we are able to understand the environment features. For example, if you are entering into the room, it is possible to understand the room temperature. Based on your entrance, the room's temperature can be adjusted, or the music can be played. So there are a lot of sensors to do such activities. When you open the door, the lights will be turned on. So this type of activities are being carried out using ubiquitous computing. Whereas when you talk about augmented reality, you are made observing the environment or real environment with an interface of computer. So computer is able to provide an additional environment to the real environment. That is the thing we are able to do achieve in augmented reality. And finally, the virtual reality is able to create an environment which is completely hiding or preventing us to see the real environment. So these are the 4 ways in which human and computer interaction can happen in current technology. So this is just to illustrate the same concept of graphical user interfaces. So there is a clear difference between real and digital worlds. So the digital worlds will be visualized using the computers, and the real world is surrounding us. So there is also like windows, icons, menus, and pointers are helping us to move into the digital world, and the real world we are going to sit and work on that. Whereas when you talk about ubiquitous computing, it is embedded computing. So the real world is embedded with a lot of computing devices and sensors, so that the environment can be observed, and based on this, we can make some decision making. That is also possible in the case of ubiquitous computing. But our focus is about this terminology, augmented reality, where the virtual images are blended with the real world. So you will be working in the real world, but there will be a simulated or virtual world, virtual images being created, which you can interact. So we'll see more on this in the coming slides. Okay. And coming to this virtual reality. Okay. So the entire, as I said, the entire real world is completely hidden from the user, and the user is moved to is visualizing a real imaginary world in which he will be working or immersing himself with. So users are basically immersing in the computer generated environment. This is the basic thing or specialty about the virtual reality. And for doing this, there are a lot of devices like HMD hand, gloves, 3D graphics, and body tracking tools are needed. Okay, we'll see on this. So when you talk about AR and VR, what we are expecting is from reality, we are moving towards the virtual reality, so that the users will be fully, completely immersed with the virtual world. And in order to move towards that, the technology growth, what are the things we may be requiring, that we will see in the coming slides. So first of all, we'll talk about augmented reality. So what do you mean by augmented reality? So if you see here, this is the augmented reality catalog created by IKEA, US furniture company, to visualize how furniture will fit in your personal room. So if you have the pictures of your room or through your mobile, you can see the furniture being placed in your room and how it will look like that. So here your entire room is real, whereas the furnitures or the tables and chairs that you are seeing on the screen are visually implanted over the real room, so that you can visualize how it will look like. So this is called as augmented reality. So a combination of real scene viewed by the user and a virtual scene created by a computer that augments the scene with additional. So we are combining both the real scene and virtual scene, so that the virtual creation of this virtual scene will make us to properly understand how it will look like, how it will be, so that you can decide your own decision-making process. So it is an upcoming technology using glasses or headsets with smart devices like phones or tablets. That is possible. So in Star Wars, a lot of augmented reality and science fiction movies, a lot of things we have seen. But nowadays, in all the movies, we are able to see such things in real life also. So coming to this area, what type of hardware we need? Special type of hardwares are needed for this. So we need processors, GPUs, processors with the GPUs, or displays, high-end displays, or input devices and sensors. What type of? So a monitor, a handheld device, or eyeglass, or head-mounted displays are needed to have such AR thing. And also the input can be a camera of a smartphone or a webcam can be connected, and sensors which can sense the environment, and based on that, it can observe and place the add the additional virtually created sceneries into the environment. So nowadays, a smartphone consists of all such hardware requirements of AR. So if you download some apps, we are using in our day-to-day life lot of apps like photo, video filters. So taking a picture, we are able to embed it with some additional things, pictures, or we can change our faces or colors. Everything is possible because of this AR or augmented reality environment. Okay. So the software, so here, not only the hardware, software is also very, very important to such play an important role for augmented reality. So it plays a key role in the function of any device based on AR technology. So special 3D AR programs like Diffusion are used in AR based applications. So we needs the software which can use the facility, utilize the features of the hardware so that the images can be embedded over the real life scenario, and it can be visualized through the displays. That is by embedding some devices in through which we can view the embedded image also. Okay, so virtual images used for overlapping over the real life image. This is the goal that we are able to achieve. So we are embedding the real life images with virtual images, and 3D softwares like ACAD, 3D or Studio Max can be used for this. And in the medical field, the CT images or MRI data can be added to the real world so that it can be visualized properly. So to experience AR, end user has to download the software. So software applications, apps or plugins are needed for doing such AR activities. So how it works, how this AR environment is working. So what we are doing is you are using a mobile application, a mobile phone's camera identifies and interprets a marker. So the place where we want to embed our data, embed our visual images, that is being denoted by the marker, often a black and white barcode image. So when you software analyzes the marker and creates a virtual image over the mobile phone screen. That's all. So the real life is being viewed through the mobile phone or tablet or whatever be the input device. And there will be markers being marked in different points. And when you browse through the software or view through the software at the marketplaces, the virtual images are overlaid or created. So the app works with the camera to interpret the angles and distance the mobile phone is away from the marker. So based on these parameters, we are able to augment the virtual image over the real live image so that it can be visualized properly. And there are a lot of issues in this augmented reality. First of all, it is with respect to the performance issues. So real-time processing of images is a challenging task because we have to process the environment, real images first, and then we should be able to augment the virtual images. So processing is going to be a serious task, and we need high-end processors like GPUs to do such activities. And even those nowadays smartphones are having such features, it's having its own limitations over the process capability and the interactions. So users within a mixed environment, because of augmented reality have difficulties in interacting with the environment as normal environment. So if two or three users are viewing the environment and each users are viewing the environment through augmented reality, it is very difficult to coordinate among their images. That is one of the major issue. Interaction among the users of the AR is going to be one of the major issue. And alignment issue, that is the calibration and alignment with reference to the frame of the world is crucial, but it is going to be one of the serious drawbacks or issue that we are going to face in the case of aligning with the real world. Okay. So some real time examples, as these are all the things that we are using in our day-to-day walks of the life, and also in this COVID era, all our labs, we are having virtual labs. So these are all the things where we can apply our augmented reality For example, location-based AR. Here the user's position using coordinate system like GPS, we are able to detect the user's position, and we are able to augment it with various information like where the hotels are, where the what I can say, stations or various information that we can augment. So basically it is very, very helpful for tourism industry. So location based augmented reality will give a traveler proper information while he is browsing the maps in virtual reality. Sorry, augmented reality. And in education, for example, you can do some laboratory experiments or you can do some analysis using this augmented reality. It provides a rich contextual learning. So instead of theoretically learning the concept, visually you can see and observe what is inside or what everything parts of the thing we are doing, analyzing. Everything is possible. And also it engages the learner in a never before way. Since as we know, visual presentation gives more information compared to the words being said about that. And also it provides an authentic learning opportunity so that the learner can learn more easily or more dynamically. And if mistakes, if you are doing some laboratory experiments like a chemistry or some other lab requirements, there is no problem at all. There is no real consequences, even if you do mistakes. So like that, in this way, the AR is helping us to improve the education process. And use of AR in games nowadays, so many games are coming in, real life games are coming, where you can play the game in a visual and audio content with the user's environment in real time. A lot of games, PUBG games and other games or visual games are coming, where you are able to play the game in real life environment. This is basically the application of AR, and the game superimposes a pre-created environment on top of the actual environment. So that the user will feel a real life environment and a real playing, real life play he is able to achieve. And more advanced AR games built an environment for users surrounding. That is also possible. They are able to capture the real life surroundings and include them in the gaming environment scenario also. This is another application where AR can be applied. And the application of AR in sports, even if you watch cricket matches or games, you can see the ball tracking, how the ball is moving visually through the by augmenting the track signals over the playground. So we are able to see a second screen which shows the stats on expected score or ball movement, etc. in the case of sports. And also AR enhance the sports viewing by combining the real world with augmented elements such as graphics and sounds. So these are additional enhancement can also be made while viewing the games. So these are all the some of the advantages that we are going to have because of AR in our real life. So coming to the next one, that is so to say about this augmented reality, the real environment is that in which we want to have additional information or virtual images embedded over this real life, so that the viewing of the data set or viewing of the images, real life images will be more live. That is the reason why we are going for augmented. Now coming to the virtual reality, as we saw, we are making the user to enter into a virtual environment, the environment itself, so that he is completely prevented from the real environment and he is able to see the environment in the environment which is being provided by the computer. So virtual reality actually introduced in the years 1950s, but it is pushed into the gaming world in 1990s, and it basically replaces the real world. That is the thing. It completely replaces the real world, and it is also called as immersive multimedia. You are yourself immersing into the environment being created by the computer, or it is also called as computer simulated reality that we are going to have. and it replicates the environment and it simulates the physical presence and allows interaction. These are all the characteristic features of the virtual reality. You are able to interact with the environment that is being created by the computer. And this environment is fully created or a computer simulated environment, and it completely hides the real environment that you are going to have. Okay. So what is virtual reality? It is a technology that replicates an environment and it is a real or imagined and simulates a user's physical. This is the important thing. It simulates the user's physical presence in that environment. So you yourself feel yourself being inside that environment, and you can also interact with that environment so that you can feel and observe that you are inside there. You can you might have used some of the VR applications or use some of these tools where you can see a real life environment. You are traveling through a train which is going high and low like that. The real environment is being, virtual environment is being created, and you are being made to interact with it or observe the sounds, noises through which you feel that you are inside that environment. That is the actual feature of the virtual reality. So it is an artificial world that consists of images and sounds created by the computer and is affected by the actions of the person who is experienced. So the world not only shows you something static, but also it is interactive. That is when you move your head accordingly, the view of the image or the environment is also changes. For example, if I am viewing my the world from my window, when I move my eyes, accordingly the position, the viewpoint is also changing. In the same way, inside the computer VR environment, if I move my head or move do some actions, accordingly the environment inside in which I am immersing will also change or modify. That is the specialty of this virtual reality, and we can define more according to various definitions can be seen on this. About this, VR is nothing but an electronic simulation of environment, and it is experienced by a head-mounted eye goggles. So the devices are very important to experience the real virtual reality, and also even can have wired clothing or wearable devices so that the end user can interact in a realistic three-dimensional situation. This is the definition that talks more about what we mean by virtual reality. So VR is an alternate world filled with the computer-generated images that respond to human movements. So, and also it is an interactive, immersive experience generated by the computer. So basically, it talks about three things. One is the environment. It is a virtual environment, and it is being filled with a lot of images and audio and video images, and also the users or the end user can completely experience by fully immersing on this environment. These are the three things that we talks about more on virtual reality. Okay, so the virtual reality is more defined more in terms of presence. This is the important terminology that we have to talk about when we talk about virtual reality. What do you mean by presence? Presence is the key to define virtual reality in terms of experience. So you are presenting here means you should feel the experience that the environment is giving to you. So presence is nothing but sense of being in an environment. So in terms of telepresence or virtual reality is the experience of presence in an environment by means of a communication. So this is the term. Telepresence is the term which talks about the presence of particular user in an environment through by means of communication medium. So virtual reality is defined as the real or simulated environment in which the perceiver experiences telepresence. This is the basic thing which talks about the presence of the perceiver. So if I am in a virtual reality environment means, or yes, I am in a real or simulated environment means, the experiences I am going to have, what type of experience when there is a hole in which I am going to fell down, I should feel the experience through audio or the video that I am falling down. So this type of real experience should be observed by the perceiver. That is the important thing you should have in the case of virtual reality. So according to this David Selters Ape Cube, there are 3 dimensions in this VR. One is autonomy and interaction and presence. So these 3 dimensions defines the term virtual reality properly. What do you mean by autonomy is, it is the ability to interact with events and stimuli. Something is happening inside the environment, the virtual environment. I am able to interact with these events. That is the first term that is very essential for my virtual reality. Second one is interaction. Whether I am able to interact with the objects that are present. So if I am going to lift some objects inside the environment, I should be able to lift or throw the object. So these are all the interaction with the object should be there. I should have the ability to interact. User can interact with the events, or users can interact with the objects inside the environment. And the third important thing is presence. I should be completely present inside the virtual environment. The virtual reality should be able to create such a feature such that the users are fully immersed. So these 3 dimensions are very essential when we talk about virtual reality. This is the David Selters Ape Cube, which talks about the virtual reality necessary. Or when you talk about virtual reality, there are 3 characteristics that are very essential in terms of virtual reality. Okay, so how it should be, how it should be. A true virtual experience should include 3D images that appear to be life-size from the perspective of the user. So if you are going, so assume that you are the virtual reality environment is being created so that you are visiting a shopping mall. So what you have to see is, if you are entering into the shopping mall, the objects that you are seeing, the shops you are seeing, or the people you are seeing it should be a real life of the life-sized objects. It should not be a miniatures of the things that you want to see. So you are entering in, or if you are entering into a flight, for example, virtual. Okay. So ability to track a user's motion. These are all, particularly his head or eye movements. These are all the things that are needed for a virtual reality scenario. So the images should be real life images, and also when you move your head, accordingly the movement should be seen in the environment also, and also you should be able to correspondingly adjust the images on user's display to reflect in the change perspective. So whenever you move your head or eye movements, the images viewpoint should also be changed or viewed properly. So these are all the things that should be that we should have in a virtual reality. Okay. So what are the 3 characteristics of virtual reality? These are the 3 that there should be a 3D stereoscopic display, wide field of view display, and a low latency head tracking. So you should not move, very minimal head movement should also reflect the corresponding changes in the environment. These are the 3 characteristics that should be properly incorporated. And when these 3 things are combined, they provide a compelling immersive experience into your virtual reality environment. Okay. So, and coming to the usage, there are a lot of usages in terms of virtual traveling or immersive training in terms of military training, driving training, or flight travel training. Simulations can be used, storytelling or gaming, and therapy, medical marketing, all these things. So I need not explain more on this because everybody is one or other way we are having an experience in using this virtual or felt the experience of this virtual reality in our real life. So there are a lot of applications that are being needed here. So now coming to the difference, what is the difference between this AR and VR? When you talk about augmented reality, the computing system augments the real world scene. It adds to the real world scene. It is not hiding the real world scene, but Here, virtual reality, it is completely hiding the real world and it creates an immersive environment to the real world. And also, the user maintains a sense of presence in the real world. He is feeling that he is also living in the real world. So his presence in the real world is not at all disturbed. Whereas in the case of virtual reality, the senses are under the control of the system. So you are pushed into an environment where it is completely under the computer machine control. Okay. And we need a mechanism to combine the virtual and real worlds. Through some software, through some devices, we need the mechanism. Whereas here, we need a mechanism to feed the virtual world to the user. So we are not requiring any mechanism to feed the real world because the entire world is being created virtually by the computer, and hard to register real and virtual in the device that we are having. It is very, very difficult to register. But here it is hard to make virtual real interesting. These are the differences between the two. So by means of AR, I am augmenting my real world so that I can understand how the real world will be modified or changed because of these new images or new virtual scenarios. Whereas in the case of virtual reality, I am moved into a imaginary world where I can see or move around or interact or immerse myself into a world that is being created by the computer. So the capability or the way in which the scenes are being generated in the augmented reality, it is very, very minimal rendering is acceptable. But in the case of VR, we need a lot of realistic images and we have to create a lot of scenarios, virtual scenarios, so that it will be more lively. And the display devices are going to be non-immersive, small field of view only we are going to talk about, but the field of view is going to be fully immersive so that the end user can feel the environment and the complete view of the environment is to be generated by the system. So here only small generation field of view alone is going to be generated by the system, whereas here complete field of view is going to be generated by the system. And tracking is very, very accurate. Highest accuracy is possible is needed, whereas here low to medium is accuracy is acceptable. When you track or move around using the devices interfaces, we need more accuracy in the case of augmented reality compared to virtual reality. So a lot of devices are being in the market for AR and VR. Just we will go through them, what type of devices are available. For example, Oculus Rift is including a headset with the built-in headphones and mic sensor, etc. And its processing capacity. So it requires a PC computer with specific hardware requirements. So it need a NVIDIA card, graphical card for having high-end usage. Similarly, HTC Vive is available with a lot of tools or additional devices for doing this VR. And Samsung Gear is powered by Oculus. It consists of headset model meant to use with Samsung smartphones. And also Sony PS4, which is work with the PlayStation for gaming console. And also Google Glass, which Explore edition of Glass was not only in the market for short. The problem with this thing is the Google Glass, it is out of market now, discontinued, because of the two reasons. This is a design problem and also the concerns of the customers are not properly addressed. So they may be, because through this we are browsing the Facebook or whatever activity you are doing, everything is being captured and the customer's privacy is being disturbed or affected by this. Fear is in the minds of the consumer, so it becomes unpopular. And also now HoloLens of Microsoft, it is a device targeting users for gaming, working and connecting. And it is beyond AR, it is actually mixed reality it is having. It blends 3D holographic content into the physical world, allowing interact with both digital content and the world around it. So it is the mixed reality is the terminology that is being coming into picture nowadays. and Microsoft HoloLens is in this domain. Okay, so now what initially I discussed about the growth of data, where the data is evolving or growing in terms of exabytes, zettabytes, and the analysis of data by the data scientist is very, very difficult nowadays. And because of this, we need a lot of visualization tools and techniques. So in this scenario, these AR and VR are coming into picture where they are helping us to augment the real world or visualize the real world virtually. So by using these tools, is it possible to visualize the big data and understand or interact or find the knowledge or patterns inside the big data more effectively? That is the thing. As a researcher or as an education, we need a lot of things. So what do you mean by big data visualization? So what we need nowadays is big data visualization can be classified based on the type of the data, the technique of visualization compatibility. We can classify based on this. So big data needs to be translated as human thinking is concerned. So why we need visualization? It is very, very difficult for the human beings to capture the data and understand the data in this real world environment. So a lot of techniques are available, but conventional data, as I discussed earlier, it is very, very difficult for the conventional data visualization tools. And also another important issue is most visualization tools are static, but nowadays the big data are more dynamic in nature. So dynamic or interactive visualizations features like rotating, zooming, panning, and scrolling allows users to extract more information. So normally in the case of descriptive analytics, what we will do is we will try to understand the characteristic features of the data. So in order to understand the characteristic features of the data, normally you might have heard the term box plot analysis. What is the, so 5-point summary we will be seeing. So for example, if there is a column of age in our data set, we want to find what is the minimum age, what is the maximum age, what is the average weight. Or similarly, if I have a product, or what is the maximum sales or minimum sales, or what is the price of the various products, like that. So this box plot analysis gives me a picture on my characteristic features of my data. But the problem is, if I see it in a two-dimensional way, it is very, very difficult to compare one data set with another data set. So by means of a graphical tools, I can be able to visualize more clearly how my data set is being. So for studying the characteristics of the data, both in the dynamic or interactive visualization helps me to understand the data more clearly. So though the big data platform like Hadoop is providing some visualization tools, it is not much helpful in terms of extracting the features, extracting the patterns from the data set. So generation of interactive, so what we have to do is how to generate interactive visualization in the case of big data. First of all, the data for the visualization must be selected based on the user. So to whom you want to present the data, whether it is a top level executive or a knowledge worker or a decision maker, based on that. And based on that, you have to select the data for your visualization and also link the information to multiple views. For example, using the same data to generate multiple visualization, different angles, different dimensions, or different attributes, you can see the data in multiple views and filter the data so that it helps the user to adjust according to their needs, then cluttering complete information. So the abstract data is enough for some person instead of giving elaborate data. So this is another thing we have to do for then interactive visualization and rearrange the data in a spatial layout so that the information can be rearranged to produce many useful insights. So these are all the things you have to carry out to have an interactive visualization. 4 steps are. So in the case of big data visualization, what are the tool characteristics? Normally, a usual big data visualization tool should possess the following characteristics. The tool should be able to understand the data. So that by the means of tool, by use of this tool, you should be able to relate the data to the domain, so that you can understand. So as I said earlier, descriptive analytics, the tool should have the facility for descriptive data analytics, and also so not having a better visualization features, it is possible for us to view the data. So the visualization tool should possess the way by which we can understand the data, and also it should accommodate steps to ensure data quality. So when I talk about data quality, the data set may have a lot of errors, noises, etc. It should be able to adjust the data according to the errors, and also it should display the result properly. So the quality management should also, data quality should also be taken care of by the big tools. And also the speed of the visualization tool should be high. So if I change the data, or if I have a dynamic data, I should adjust the result visual images according to this. So I need a high performance computing tool. And also I have to combine the interpreted data into clusters so that it can generate valuable visualizations. So these are the tool characteristics. So when I say that I want a visualization tool which can visualize my big data, then they should satisfy these. They should have these features in their tool. And coming to the applications in terms of big data, medicinal applications, we all know. Even nowadays, we are having our own tracking devices. Smartphones are also capturing our devices, pulses, heart rates, everything. Based all such information can be processed and visualize them in an interactive way. Similarly, as I said earlier, IKEA, initially we saw where it is possible for them through mobile application. It virtually places a furniture inside our house or room so that the customer can feel how the furniture is fit into our environment, real environment. That is, so retail application is having. And also tourism, location-based ARs are very much helpful for our tour planner and other things. Okay. So some of the visualization tools, a lot of tools are available in the market. So for example, Virtualytics is founded in 2015, which is developing Virtualytics immersive platform, which combines machine learning, big data, and virtual reality, being provided by this Virtualytics. And DataView, it provides a virtual workspace, which is the workplace of the future to power immersive data presentation. So multiple users can collaboratively design and develop and present the work in a common environment. And also 3D data, it is also, what I can say is, it provides tools to create powerful AR data projections in real world environment. For example, a building can be raised from the table and we can see inside what is inside, how the structure will be designed, everything is possible using this 3D data tool. And also it provides a virtual meeting space where different teams can come together and view and work data in a data projection mode. So these are all some of the tools that can be used and in our real life applications. So, but the feeder for this type of tools is the big data that are being captured in real life or which is captured already and it can be given to the data set. Okay. So to visualize the thing, just I want to show this image, how this big data and
first, an axis for health, life expectancy, from 25 years to 75 years. And down here, an axis for wealth, income per person, $400,000, $4,000, and $40,000. So down here is poor and sick, and up here is rich and healthy. Now, I'm going to show you the world 200 years ago, in 1810. Here come all the countries. Europe brown, Asia red, Middle East green, Africa south of Sahara blue, and the Americas yellow. And the size of the country bubble shows the size of the population. And in 1810, it was pretty crowded down there, wasn't it? All countries were sick and poor. Life expectancy were below 40 in all countries. And only the UK and the Netherlands were slightly better off, but not much. And now, why start the world? The Industrial Revolution makes countries in Europe and elsewhere move away from the rest. But the colonized countries in Asia and Africa, they are stuck down there. And eventually, the Western countries get healthier and healthier. And now we slow down to show the impact of the First World War and the Spanish flu epidemic. What a catastrophe! And now I speed up through the 1920s and the 1930s. And in spite of the Great Depression, Western countries forge on towards greater wealth and health. Japan and some others try to follow, but most countries stay down here. Now, after the tragedies of the Second World War, we stop a bit to look at the world in 1948. 1948 was a great year. The war was over, Sweden topped the medal table at the Winter Olympics, and I was born. But the differences between the countries of the world was wider than ever. United States was in the front, Japan was catching up. Brazil was way behind, Iran was getting a little richer from oil, but still had short lives. And the Asian giants, China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indonesia, they were still poor and sick down here. But look what is about to happen. Here we go again. In my lifetime, former colonies gained independence, and then finally they started to get healthier and healthier and healthier. And in the 1970s, then countries in Asia and Latin America started to catch up with the Western countries. They became the emerging economies. Some in Africa follows. Some Africans were stuck in civil war and others hit by HIV. And now we can see the world today in the most up-to-date statistics. Most people today live in the middle, but there are huge differences at the same time between the best of countries and the worst of countries. And there are also huge inequalities within countries. These bubbles show country averages, but I can split them. Take China, I can split it into provinces. There goes Shanghai. It has the same wealth and
So I think this is just so this YouTube just shows how much of data being collected back at the background, so that I can see, so that the presenter is able to give a lot of information. He is talking about how the wealth and income variation is happening in multiple countries in different years of life. So starting early, every country is in the poor domain, and some countries going to the highly educated, healthy domain. So these are all the way in which we are. So to present this, how much data is being given to the system, computer device. Though we are able to present the image or statistical report through AR, now we are feeding the AR with a lot of information. Okay, so this much of data is being supplied to the AR devices so that it is being presented to the environment. So this is the thing that is need of the hour. We are able to visualize the data, we are able to understand the data, and we are able to find or decide what is happening, which country is going up, which country is going down. So like this, the AR and VR helps us not only for enhancing the games or sports, etc., but also do understand the data properly and also make it apply to our day-to-day life also. That is the goal of AR and VR techniques. So let me conclude this presentation that by presenting the data in the 3D, the user will be able to decipher the major takeaway from the data. They are able to capture what is being available or understand what type of patterns can be observed from the data in a better and faster way. And also the immersive way of representation of the data helps the analyst to handle the big data more effectively. And also, but instead of seeing the numbers and figures, we can be able to see beyond it, the facts happenings and reasons which could revolutionize the businesses. So for example, there is a growth happening in the lifestyle of various countries during the World War also. What is the reason behind that? Like that, we can understand the happenings and also reason behind that also can be studied. And every data is trying to indicate something. That is the important thing. So the data is swimming around us in the case of AR and VR. It becomes simpler for us to understand what it says when we talk about these type of visualization techniques. So the visualization of big data using AR and VR can cut down the time one spends on data analysis drastically, and we can get better insights from the data comparatively. So with this few thing, I conclude my presentation, and any questions from the audience?
Audience and dear participants, if you have any questions, please post your questions, or you can just unmute yourself and ask, sir.
Sir, good afternoon. This is Shobha, sir.
Yes.
Sir, you told that because of the big data, because of AR and VR, most of the data will be we can cut down and all. But with the heterogeneous and homogeneous data, how do you differentiate this by making use of AR and VR, sir?
See, that is the thing. We have to present this data in different planes, and we have combined them into a single plane. That is the thing. If you see a 2D image, all will be placed in the same domain. We cannot see. For example, if you visualize the data more than 3 dimension, even a data cube can represent up to 3 dimensions. After that, it's very difficult. So you have to put them in different planes and bring them together so that it can be. So each attribute or each dimension can be separately visualized, or separate colors or fonts, that like that we can present in a combined image. That is possible. Okay.
Thank you, sir. The entire DBM is that pivot tables, queries, everything we will be able to change, sir, in VR and VR.
Hello, I'm not.
No.
Yes.
The entire pivot table data, big data, and then the queries, what we will store in the big data, everything we will be able to change it here and here, sir.
Not clear. Here. Queries?
No, the entire DBMS data also we will be able to convert, and the queries also we will be able to convert in the form of AR and VR, sir.
Queries.
The constraints will write, sir.
Constraints can be included based on, that is the thing, based on the domain in which you are working. You have to plan. That is the important thing. Okay, what type of queries? For example, if you want to if you want to see how the organization is progressing. So what type of data is needed for this? Okay, what is the expected result from this? So some places AR will help you, or you can create the, if you are designing, if you are going to apply this for designing purpose. So what are all the parameters? Lot of data being collected. For example, for your room, what is the room dimension? What are all the parameters? What are all the what is the input needed? How much of steel or cement or construction parameters? All things are to be given. What is the strength you are expecting? So based on these parameters, domain specific information, you can construct virtually or you can augment the real life. Both things. So a lot of information data is being to be supplied to the tools AR and VR so that we can visualize them properly. Okay, that is the thing. I think I have answered this.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience side? So shall we close the session, sir?
Yes. Yes,
sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. So I would
Thank
like
you.
to yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank our speaker, Dr. S. Nicholas, for enlightening us with your knowledge, sir. So this session was very informative and it gave us a deep knowledge about virtual reality and big data, sir. Thank you so much. I once again thank Dr. Nicholas Professor NIT Trichy, for presenting a wonderful session, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So
Yes.
dear participants, yes, sir. Thank you so
No.
much, sir. It was very
Thank you.
informative,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you very
Yes,
much
sir.
for
It was
your
very
patience
enlightening
hearing.
and informative. Sir. Thank you so
Okay,
much,
thank
sir. So dear participants, the attendance link will be posted and it will be in your chat box. So kindly fill the attendance, and I thank each and every one of you for your participation. The next session will be at 2 p.m. Thank you all. Thank you each and every one of you. Thank you, sir.